The entire restaurant fell silent the moment the elegant billionaire woman walked through the glass doors. Every eye followed her as she confidently approached the lonely man sitting at the reserved table by the window, a man wearing a neatly ironed but inexpensive blue shirt, worn shoes, and hands rough from years of fixing broken pipes. Hidden across the room, several coworkers struggled to hold back laughter while secretly recording the scene on their phones. They were certain they were about to witness the most humiliating moment of his life. They believed the wealthy woman would take one look at him, laugh, and walk away. But none of them were prepared for what happened next. Within minutes, the laughter disappeared, their smiles faded, and the cruel prank they had carefully planned became the biggest mistake of their lives. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Soulful Tales 2 for more unforgettable stories that warm the heart. Every workplace has someone people underestimate. In the maintenance department of Sterling Heights Corporate Center, that person was Rowan Mercer. Every morning before sunrise, Rowan arrived carrying an old lunchbox and a faded backpack while everyone else rushed past him wearing expensive suits. Few people bothered learning his story. To them, he was simply the plumber who repaired clogged sinks, leaking toilets, and broken water lines. Some greeted him politely, but many barely acknowledged he existed. What nobody knew was that every evening after finishing 12 exhausting hours of work, Rowan hurried home to his 8-year-old daughter, Hazel. Since losing his wife in a tragic car accident 5 years earlier, Rowan had devoted every ounce of his energy to raising Hazel alone. He braided her hair despite never learning properly, packed school lunches with whatever groceries fit his limited budget, attended every school play, and never missed reading bedtime stories even when his body ached from crawling beneath buildings all day. Money was scarce, but love filled their tiny apartment. Hazel often noticed the tired look in her father's eyes. One evening she quietly asked why he always smiled even when life seemed difficult. Rowan simply told her that people could take away money, comfort, and opportunities, but they could never steal kindness unless someone willingly gave it away. Hazel never forgot those words. Unfortunately, Rowan's coworkers mistook his kindness for weakness. Among the office staff worked several employees who constantly mocked anyone they considered beneath them. They joked about Rowan's patched work boots, laughed whenever they saw him eating homemade sandwiches, and even whispered insults whenever he walked through the executive floors carrying his toolbox. One afternoon they overheard exciting news spreading throughout the building. The company's newest investor, billionaire entrepreneur Vivian Ashcroft, would soon visit headquarters. Vivian had built a global technology empire worth billions yet remained surprisingly private. News articles described her as intelligent, graceful, and impossible to impress. That was when someone proposed a cruel joke. They anonymously signed Rowan up for an exclusive charity blind date event where successful professionals met donors during a fundraising dinner. Using fake information, they listed Rowan as a wealthy entrepreneur. They secretly arranged for Vivian herself to be paired with him, convinced the misunderstanding would become the funniest story in company history. The invitation reached Rowan only 2 days before the event. Confused, he nearly threw it away, believing it had been delivered by mistake. But Hazel encouraged him to attend. She smiled and told him maybe life was finally giving him one happy evening after years of sacrifice. Rowan hesitated, knowing he owned only one decent shirt, yet he decided attending a charity event could at least support a good cause. The evening arrived beneath bright blue skies, making the city sparkle in warm daylight before the elegant dinner began. Rowan carefully ironed his only dress shirt while Hazel proudly adjusted his collar. She hugged him tightly and reminded him to simply be himself because the right people cared more about the heart than expensive clothes. As Rowan entered the luxurious hotel ballroom, whispers immediately surrounded him. Hidden cameras began recording. Several co-workers had paid for nearby tables solely to watch him embarrass himself. Rowan felt completely out of place. Crystal chandeliers reflected across polished marble floors while wealthy guests discussed investments worth millions. His calloused hands looked different from everyone else's. Still, he politely greeted every employee, waiter, and security guard he passed. Then Vivian Ashcroft entered. The room practically stopped breathing. She wasn't surrounded by bodyguards or photographers. Instead, she quietly thanked the hotel staff who opened the doors before calmly walking toward Rowan's table. The co-workers exchanged excited smiles. This was the moment they had been waiting for. But instead of appearing disgusted, Vivian smiled warmly before taking her seat. Something immediately caught her attention. Unlike every wealthy guest she had spoken with that evening, Rowan never tried impressing her. He never exaggerated his accomplishments or pretended to be someone else. He simply asked how her day had been and thanked the serving staff every time they refilled their water glasses. Vivian had spent years surrounded by people chasing her fortune. Genuine conversations had become incredibly rare. As the evening continued, Rowan spoke about Hazel. His face transformed whenever he described his daughter. He explained how she dreamed of becoming an architect because she wanted to design homes where lonely families could always feel safe. He admitted he sometimes skipped meals so Hazel could enjoy fresh fruit for school lunches. He confessed he worried constantly about giving her enough opportunities despite limited income. Vivian listened carefully. For the first time in years, someone spoke to her without mentioning business, investments, luxury vacations, or money. He spoke only about love. Near the end of dinner, one coworker decided the prank had gone on long enough. Unable to contain himself, he loudly announced across the restaurant that everyone should know Rowan wasn't some successful entrepreneur. He fixes toilets for a living. Several people turned toward Rowan. The restaurant became painfully silent. Phones continued recording. The pranksters expected humiliation. Instead, Rowan calmly nodded. He admitted everything. He explained that he repaired plumbing because honest work had fed his daughter every single day since his wife passed away. He said there was no shame in fixing what other people depended on. Before anyone else could react, Vivian slowly stood. She looked around the room with disappointment. Then she said something nobody there would ever forget. She explained that her own grandfather had been a maintenance worker who taught her that the dignity of honest labor built stronger character than inherited wealth ever could. She added that she had spent the evening searching for authenticity and had finally found it sitting across the table from a man who loved his daughter more than himself. The co-workers stared in disbelief. Vivian then did something completely unexpected. She reached across the table and held Rowan's hand. Not for publicity. Not for sympathy. Simply because she respected him. Every hidden phone lowered. Every laugh disappeared. The prank had completely backfired. The story should have ended there, but life had even greater surprises waiting. Over the following weeks, Vivian quietly visited Rowan and Hazel several times. She discovered their tiny apartment filled with library books, handmade school projects, and photographs of simple but joyful memories. Hazel welcomed Vivian with genuine excitement, never knowing she was speaking with one of the richest women in the country. Instead of expensive gifts, Vivian spent time helping Hazel with science projects and listening to Rowan's dreams that he had buried years earlier. She learned Rowan had once studied engineering before abandoning college after his father's illness forced him into full-time work. His intelligence had never disappeared. Opportunity simply had. Months later, Vivian announced a nationwide community housing initiative designed to renovate aging neighborhoods for struggling families. To everyone's astonishment, she appointed Rowan as the project's operations director after personally funding specialized leadership training for him. Some executives questioned her decision. She answered with quiet confidence. Skills could be taught. Integrity could not. Rowan embraced the opportunity with humility. He never forgot the maintenance workers who still fixed broken pipes every day. He personally visited construction sites, shared meals with laborers, and treated every employee with equal respect. Under his leadership, thousands of affordable homes were restored. Families who had nearly lost hope found safe places to rebuild their lives. Meanwhile, the co-workers responsible for the cruel prank faced consequences. Several publicly apologized after realizing how deeply their actions reflected their own character rather than Rowan's. Rowan accepted every sincere apology without bitterness because he wanted Hazel to see forgiveness in action. Years later, during the grand opening of another completed neighborhood, Hazel stood beside her father as cameras captured the ceremony. She quietly whispered that she had always known people would eventually see the man she saw every day. Rowan smiled with tears filling his eyes. Not because he had become successful, but because his daughter had never stopped believing in him. Vivian stood nearby, proud not of creating Rowan's future, but simply of recognizing the greatness that had always existed inside him. The greatest fortunes in life are rarely measured by bank accounts. They are measured by character, sacrifice, compassion, and the courage to remain kind when the world gives every reason not to be. Sometimes the people others laugh at are quietly carrying the heaviest burdens with extraordinary grace. And sometimes the cruelest joke becomes the beginning of the most beautiful miracle. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Soulful Tales too. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories of kindness and second chances to people around the world. Rose's special request: before this story ends, please comment with the words, "Kindness always wins." Your message may inspire someone who is silently struggling today. Life has an incredible way of revealing the true value of a person. Wealth may impress the eyes for a moment, but humility, honesty, and unconditional love leave a mark on the heart forever. Rowan never became extraordinary because a billionaire noticed him. He became extraordinary the moment he chose to keep loving his daughter, working honestly, and treating everyone with respect despite being mocked every single day. And in the end, that quiet strength became the greatest victory of all.